So we'll call back to order. Is that Commissioner Box? Commissioner Box.
Turn your phone off. Yeah, it's mine.
Could you please silence your phone?
Is this you calling? There's no caller ID.
I'd like to turn the meeting over before it goes off the rails to Commissioner Sanders, Chairman Sanders.
Too late, Chairman, but thank you.
Day.
All right, I want to call Tim Churchill.
I know, it should be. I'm like, my phone went off.
All right. Awesome. It just popped up. Thank you, Chairman Sanders. I have a couple of budget expansion requests. The first one is a project. It's sort of based out of Lone Oaks. It was prior approved in the summer. It's a youth outreach thing, and it's a statewide thing, and it applies to 4-H kids, and UT is the partner on this, and they're paying the match for it. It will help get kids hunting and shooting instruction on the 4-H camp sites and funnel them towards our hunter ed programs as well. We underfunded this when we did the summer budget for the current year, or when we made adjustments, and it was underfunded by $218,245. So if there's no questions on that, I'll move on to the next one. But
We have a motion, second. We have a second. Any discussion from the committee? Discussion from the public, which I never do.
Well, I do. What project is this actual, would you say it?
we got it, this past summer we realized we had a monstrous amount of unobligated hunter education money. Okay. And so we've done several new projects, and most of them were approved this past summer, and this was one of them. And it's a partnership with UT. We're sort of based out of Lone Oaks, but again, it's getting hunter education to 4-H kids is what the basis is.
Okay.
Tim, this is, if I'm not mistaken, one step in several steps of the total funding. Is that correct, or is this finishing it up?
This is it. This gets us there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor on the committee, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Let's have it. Thank you. Go ahead, Tim.
Thank you. The second one is for our annual payment in lieu of taxes for lands that we own. We own about 600,000 acres now. We have to pay this every year. It generally comes out of the wetland fund, and we pay it 100% out of the wetland fund, but we asked the service, and they agreed that we could use wildlife restoration funds to pay 75% of it. So we will pay it out. As all these projects work, you pay it out with state funds, you get reimbursed the federal funds. So this will get us 75% back, and that request is for $450,000.
All right, so we have a request for $450,000. Do I have a motion? Second? Second. All right. Any questions? Discussions from the public? Having none, we have a first and second. All in favor on the committee, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
I'd like to call Frank Fiss to the podium, please.
Thank you, Chairman Sanders. We've got two fisheries budget expansions today. The first, we received a check for $50,000 from the Tennessee Valley Authority to help out with our Normandy Hatchery project. We greatly appreciate that from TVA, and we'd like to be able to expand Budget 7301 to add that $50,000 to that project.
All right, so we have a request to expand the budget by $50,000. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Don't leave me hanging here. Second? All right. Any discussions from the committee? Discussions from the public? Have a first and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you. Frank?
Our second project is a brook trout genetics project that we're going to use the money that we received from Trout Unlimited back in October. We got a check for $10,000. We're going to add some sport fish restoration money to that, and that will result in a project for FY19 in the order of $25,800. So that's the total expansion for 7317, which is now on screen.
All right, so we have a request of 25,800 expansion to budget 7317. Do I have a motion? Second. All right, any discussions? I have one question. This is all for brook trout?
Yes.
Where's this work going?
It's really the high mountain terrain where brook trout live above 3,200 feet generally, but we're looking at which populations we have and whether or not they're true native brook trout or do they have hatchery influence in them. So this is this project also pairs with work that's going on in surrounding states as well in brook trout, but this is our piece of it.
Is this, I know TU gave just last week 11,000 and some change to the Conservation Institute at the aquarium where we visited in whenever that was, July.
Yeah.
Is that working with that, or?
We're certainly coordinated when it comes to brook trout genetics, and where the reason we care so much about the genetics is so that we know where good sources are to pull fish to stock to restore populations, and we work closely with the aquarium unit, but this is not a dollar project with them per se.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or discussions from the committee?
So does this also let you know how successful the population is that you stock and how they're thriving as well?
Well, usually we determine that by our electrofishing surveys. Unlike a lot of species of fish, brook trout are actually pretty easy to count. You know, the streams are small, and we're able to do pretty good population estimates. So typically what we'll do is remove all the rainbow trout and any brook trout, even if they're the wrong strain, from a reach of a river, and we'll put the native brook trout in, and then we come back in a few years and see how those fish have reproduced. If we thought that there was a chance that non-native brook trout genes could get in there, we could use this test to determine that. But we're really looking for places where if we come up on a stream and use this project to say this is a pure southern strain brook trout, we leave that one alone. If we find one that's got a lot of or all hatchery strain from decades ago, that could still be a candidate where we want to do brook trout restoration work.
Any other questions from the public? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor from the committee? Aye, thank you. Opposed? All right, thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Is Darren here? Darren Ryder?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. You were, believe it or not, you were hidden.
That was planned. No. Thank you, Commissioner Sanders. This budget expansion is for the Boating Law Enforcement Division to expand the agency's budget $829,000 and $700 for fiscal year 18. This money will be used for the CVA, which is the Clean Vessel Act program, and all these are federal dollars. There's no agency dollars, and the recipient matches it, the match money provided by the granted recipient, and these are for construction, renovation, and management of pump out stations throughout marinas in Tennessee.
All right, so we have a budget expansion for $829,700. Do I have a motion? And a second? Any questions and discussions? All right.
Do you already have a list of the marinas that are applying for, do they apply for this?
Yes, sir. There's a link on our website. They do make application and they'll get awarded. And we've always had plenty of money, so nobody's ever been turned down. Now, it's a cap of $35,000 per project. And then this program started like in 1995. The agency has awarded like $8 million from 95 to current. And when we started in 95, there were like 3 grants, and now we've got over 230 grants. So the money's there. If the marinas will apply, they're going to get awarded the money.
Thank you.
So, and this is open to any marina that has a pump out station or
There's
that's all navigable waterways?
publics for sure.
Okay,
But private is eligible for these grant dollars, but they gotta open up these facilities to the public to use, but private marinas are also eligible, yes, sir.
thank you. Any other discussions? Any discussions from the public? Have a first and a second. All in favor on the committee, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Pandy, Upchurch.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanders. It's good to come after law enforcement, so my budget expansion doesn't look so bad. But, but yes, the endangered species budget, endangered species biological diversity section is asking for a budget expansion of $792,164.50. This is actually accumulation of all of our endangered species budget expansions for this year. It's all U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service dollars. It's all 100% federal dollars with the match coming from those institutions conducting the research. This includes our annual appropriation from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. It includes a nationwide competitive state wildlife grant to study a salamander disease. And it includes the project that we've already got going on the Brawley Sport Crayfish. And we use this money always to conduct research on species that are petitioned or candidates for being listed. And we try to prevent the listing of endangered species. If species are on the endangered species list, we do projects to try to remove them from the endangered species list. And the goal is always to prevent or to remove or downlist species. So some of the projects here are propagation and reintroduction of rare species, or as in the Nashville crayfish, which is involved in this, the goal, we are delisting that species, and the goal is to follow it and to make sure that it can remain delisted. So this is a monitoring program, a 5-year monitoring program that the Nashville Zoo is doing that will help us make sure that that Nashville crayfish can remain delisted. So we are asking for $792,164.50 to budget 765000 for endangered species projects.
You have the presentation. Do I have a motion? Second. And I have a second. Any questions? I have one. Could you not get another 50 cents from them? I mean, I've got $3,127,509.50. I'll go give you the 50 cents if you can accept it. We'll expand it by. No.
I would like for you to know that when I turn this into Cookville, I have to have that down to the 3rd decimal place.
Being an accountant,
and it has
that
been
makes me happy.
sent back 50
right.
cents.
Okay, we'll go back. Are there any serious questions now?
Ken's going to do whatever he wants to anyway.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor on the committee, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, you've got another one.
I do. Thank you. And the second biological diversity budget expansion is for budget 764700. Again, it's for this year. And this is a grant that was written by the Region 2 staff for white nose syndrome monitoring during the winter months. And this is all federal money. No match is required. This comes from a special white nose syndrome grant where folks apply for it. And the Region 2 staff got that. It's for $30,000 for this year's winter white nose syndrome monitoring.
Thank you. All right, we have a request, $30,000 expansion to 7647. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
And a second. Any questions?
The design on this, another sarcastic one, but it looks like a new camo pattern you created.
Hey, you know what that is? So those are gray bats exiting a cave at Arnold Air Force Base, and then I just hit artistic by accident, and that's what happened, and I thought, wow, that's cool. Thank you. Thanks for noticing. Those
Any
are
other
bats.
questions? All right, we have a first and a second. Any discussions from the public? I don't want to leave them out. All right, from the committee, I'll take a motion to approve by saying aye.
Aye.
I mean, the whole committee is here, guys. Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pandy. Y'all making me work hard here. I didn't do this. I'm here. All right, Brad.
How fast this goes when talk's in here.
Brad Miller.
Thank you, Chairman Sanders, Commissioners. Today I am coming before you for a budget expansion for North Cumberland Wildlife Management Area's habitat project, which you heard a little bit about from Joe. We had about a 5-year plan, but with the money from the elk raffle tag and matching Pittman-Robertson Wildlife Restoration Funds, we will be able to get a lot more work accomplished in a more rapid amount of time, so that's great. But so what we're asking for is a budget increase of $731,600, again using the raffle tag and then the PR funds to match that. You'll see A through E is just a quick and dirty breakdown of how we're intending to spend that. Those of you that went on the field trip saw the grouse knob area where we had a contractor come in, and I think you saw the video of the dozer at work, and we're looking to replicate that for, it'll be about 375 acres. It all depends on what the bids come in at. We are also going to do aerial herbicide application. That generally runs about $100 an acre. So again, we're looking to treat about 500 acres. Whenever we clear land, we're going to need to put in seed, fertilizer, lime. We'll have to gravel, new access. We're also going to buy, expand our inventory and try to get a tractor and a couple of implements so we can have enough equipment to do all this work. And then we can also expand our workforce by adding a couple of part-time positions. Those are not new positions. They're essentially piggybacked on existing positions, and those would only be for the 190 days that are allowed for a part-time position. So you add that all up, and we're at $731,600. Any questions?
Wait, let me get a motion first. Hold on.
Yeah, motion for approval.
Second. All right, now go ahead, Commissioner Gardner.
On the aerial herbicide application, do you, I remember seeing some areas that had been, had the herbicide applied to it. Do you plan to go in and work that ground afterwards, or is it something where you let the vegetation grow up naturally?
Right, yeah, so we're relying on native vegetation coming back. We went out and did vegetation surveys, and it's really full of forbs, which is what elk and deer concentrate on in the summer months, whereas clear cuts are a much lower percentage of forbs, so it's kind of geared towards summer food as well as just great habitat for fawning and calving and turkeys laying nests, etc. So what we'll do is we'll have those on a rotation where as they need it, probably every 2 to 3 years, we'll burn those again. So we won't have to put equipment on those at all, other than fire breaks.
Thanks.
Any other questions? From the public? All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor of expanding the North Cumberland Wildlife Management Area budget by $731,600, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Can I go back just and ask one little question on Frank? The Normandy, the $50,000 for the Normandy work, can you tell me what that money is being spent on? What is exactly happening with that?
We've got 8 ponds that are that have been constructed or in various phases of construction, and they're large ponds to add. When the original hatchery was built, there was room for expansion, and we're just now getting to that expansion opportunity. So we're at a phase now where I believe there's still some kettles to be built so we can drain the water and get the fish out. And we still have to line all those ponds with the plastic lining that we do. This money will not complete the project. We're actually counting on that money, any other money we can get from, hopefully TVA might invest again. And we're counting on the hatchery improvement project that we get annually. And we're going to have to compile a couple years worth of funding just to buy the liners for Normandy Hatchery. They're very expensive, but they're what we need. And we knew that going in, but we have to start somewhere. So that $50,000 just helps us get that much further along. And they've given us money in the past to at least $200,000 to get us this far. So
Thank you, Frank.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes the Budget Committee.
Thank you, Chairman Sanders, and I think the agency needs to go in the investment business. If we take what was a $13,000 tag and turn it into $750,000, that's amazing. And thank you again, Commissioner Holbert, for pushing that. That's a wonderful return. So, any other comments from the Commission? Director Carter? So I'm assuming the same people will be here tomorrow, but if not, y'all have a Merry Christmas if you're not here tomorrow, and we will re-adjourn at 9 in the morning. So thank you.